My Discord server is a machine that turns a communication app into a place to find the worst aviation ideas. Hey guys, it's Messier82. This is my Discord server. Among the 6,314 creatures who reside within this server, not one coherent thought can be made. Day after day, these critters post their half-baked aviation design suggestions. From the Stealth AN2 to making every single propeller aircraft under the sun supersonic. But these creatures are in danger. Every moment they post these supersonic biplanes and Stealth AN2s, these creatures continue on their path, their brain slowly decays in their skull, unable to find any meaningful stimulation or reason to live. But not to worry, the people of this fine YouTube video, I have an idea. Today we will make an aircraft, if you can call it that fulfills all of their stupid ideas at once. Do I want to spend 20 hours of my life building a one-to-one replica of a Winnebago and slapping wings on it? Sure thing, pal. So on my server, while the general populace was arguing over Gen 5 aircraft for the 700th time, seriously, do you not have anything better to do like enjoy life, touch grass, or see the sun for the first time in weeks? Anyways, I sent out an announcement that read like this. The Taco Bell is closed, so I can't watch homeless people fight in the parking lot. I'm bored, winky face. Instead, tell me what you think will make the coolest airplane ever. That's paraphrased, of course. And so a flood of thirsty sims flooded into the forums below to suggest things. Let's see if we can't fill out the M82 bingo sheet with upvoted ideas only. Supersonic? A video game replica? An oblique wing? Not a plane? It even won the polls. VTOL? Actually, surprisingly no, but that's only because I told people it probably wouldn't be VTOL. So the mods deleted VTOL requests. Stealth prop? Of course. Not a suggestion? Yep. Forward swept? Make something stealthy? Replica? MS paint drawing? Supersonic prop? Buzzword machine? A10 but X? Impossible to make? Literally just build my plane as a commission? AI generated? Just the NGAD? A modified biplane? Yeah, we got bingo a while ago anyway. I was left with the challenge of sorting all of these for the most upvoted option and filtering them through a second poll afterwards. Luckily enough, I used child labor to do the work for me. However, we did this because I knew for a fact none of my server members really got past the second grade reading level and probably haven't seen any of the old suggestions. The options we polled included only the most major airframe questions. After the poll had ended, the requirements for the build included making a second Spaceballs movie, mounting a cannon, which by the way somehow makes it fly even worse, smacking every single image suggested onto the vehicle, and of course having a dedicated child under 7 aka automatic beer fetcher on board. So you guys saw me building it in the background, but this is the Winnebago we'll be using for the video. The clutch synchro is shot and the engine is raw dogging the gears. There's mold and mildew all over the interior and the inline 4 engine is about to quit. I also put a few awesome bumper stickers on it, which you can read through if you'd like. This tasteful redneck vehicle will be our aircraft of choice. Let's pull it into the shop and get to work. First things first, the engine. The default inline 4 of the Winnebago isn't gonna cut it. Instead, we took the same engine, supercharged it, and gave it 115 octane aviation fuel. I'm sure the engine, crankshaft, and conrods can take that no problem, right? Well, it's flyout, so there's no such thing as structural limitations on an engine, so we're good. Either way, this little 4-banger now puts out around 500 horsepower. Now, why are we modifying the engine? And well, the answer is because of Messier's patented Winnebago takeoff system. A regular Winnebago's weight balance and wheel position do not allow for any takeoff rotation and are generally bad for going airborne. As a result, I am instead widening the rear tires and improving the engine, hoping that we can instead pop a wheelie in place of the standard aircraft rotation. So, with a powerful motor and thickened rear tires, we should be able to get off the ground with no problem. Quite literally having to pop wheelies for rotation might be the most redneck thing I've done. Halfway between a drag racer and a redneck camper on the ground, next will be the aviation section of the engines. The two suggestions I got with a decent amount of votes were the Rolls-Royce Olympus engines and just a picture of a turbofan. I also got recommended to add 3D thrust vectoring to the aircraft because of course I did. Experiment number 1 was with scale models of the Olympus engine, and despite it putting out as much thrust as the F-16, this thing couldn't break 300 knots in a straight line, and chug through all of its fuel in 5 minutes. So instead I switched to the turbofans, and ironically, due to the insane drag, it went faster with the turbofan engines. They still had 3D TV nozzles for control at low speeds, but instead utilized much lower speed engine configurations. They also had a much longer range, albeit still burning through its fuel a little bit too fast for comfort. After that, it was time for the wings. I didn't want very large profile wings or very high aspect wings, as this thing flew like, well, exactly how you'd expect a Winnebago to fly. Instead, I utilized a high sweep angle delta combined with a close couple of canards to generate as much lift as possible at high AOA, which ended up being a very good choice, because this thing's stall speeds and top speed are, very close together. Yeah, VA speed doesn't exist on this thing, and it's physically impossible to go fast enough to pull more than like 5G maximum. This thing uses the tidal forces of Jupiter to turn as opposed to actually moving. Once again, thank Newport Jesus for thrust vectoring, otherwise this thing would move slow enough to be classified as a residence building in 16 different states. In the Redneck Aerospace program, we tested a few different variants, including a VTOL variant with the turbofan engines mentioned before. Ultimately, however, we decided to go with an active, close-coupled canards plus delta wing configuration because this thing needed every advantage in a stall possible. With astronomically high wing loading, an incapable top speed, and thrust vectoring, this thing would need as much help as humanly possible to prevent total stalls. This wing configuration optimizes flight profile in the vortex lift regime, which was quite a few degrees alpha over standard lift, meaning this vehicle would be harder to stall at the cost of extra drag. But also at the same time, look at this thing, drag isn't really a concern in the first place. Flying this thing above 250 knots looks like you're hitting a brick wall with how much drag the fuselage generates. Last thing, before the optional naval cannon were all the other server suggestions. I started with my interior design, adding a beer fridge, a framed picture of Weird Al Yankovic, the Blue Album, this awesome Rammstein song which I will not mention, and of course a taped McRib box on the wall to give it that redneck aesthetic, along with giving myself some design input on the interior. As mentioned before, we'd be doing every single image with over 2 likes as a cockpit detail, at least if they were intended to be images on the aircraft. But first, we had to do a little vote on the pinup of the vehicle. The 2 most liked pictures with, I guess, creatures on it was a picture of Jesus Christ with Baja Blast flavored Newports, and Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. I took these 2 and asked my server which one they'd rather have as a nose art or pinup of the vehicle, promising to put the losing one somewhere inside the cockpit. The chat turned to our Lord and Savior, overwhelmingly voting for Jesus Christ as our pinup. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it too big because of some painting glitches Flyout has with complex fuselage shapes, but we put the pinup on either side of the vehicle nonetheless. The creature instead went inside the vehicle, a framed picture going on top of the beer fridge. Lastly, as a personal detail, I added 3 Arnold Palmers for my friend who really likes to drink them before flying. And with that, we were finally ready to fly, so let's give it a test flight and see what it's like.
Have you ever wanted more out of your Winnebago? Well, I'll tell you what, me and Dale got you covered. We did all damn fancy modifications eons ago and this thing's still flying.
Hey guys, so I was originally going to go over the takeoff procedure of this thing in-game, but it turns out my audio mixing was terrible and I can't go back and fix it, so instead I'm just gonna do it here, in a little voiceover. Later in the video it gets better, I'll switch back to live messier after that. But essentially, first thing you want to do is, you have to actually use the engine to get off the ground. And you also have to use the piston engine to actually start the turbine engines. Some of that redneck engineering for you. All you have to do to start the turbines, if they're off, is you gotta turn on the engine and just get to speed and hit the fuel and ignition for the turbines. And that will turn them on because there's already air spinning through them. So, to get off the ground, what you want to do is you want to put it in 5th gear, so the highest gear. You want to start moving, start rolling using the jet engines, and when you get to speed, you want to drop that clutch and put the ignition on for the engine. The engine has like 500 horsepower, and the weight's far enough back where you can just basically pop a wheelie with that. And voila, that's how you rotate off the ground with this thing. Unfortunately, it is not a very fun aircraft to fly at all. It flies like a... well, it flies like a flying Winnebago, it really does. It generates so much drag that, like, there is almost no difference between stalling and regular flight. If you pull slightly too hard of a turn, you instantly enter a stall that's very difficult to recover from if you're low on energy. More or less, this thing's just waiting to kill you at every single point of the flight. You can't even throttle down without it just, like, falling out of the sky immediately. On landing approach, you literally need to keep the throttle at, like, 40 or 50% just to, you know, stop yourself from falling out of the sky. So ultimately, while this project was fun and it led to some very entertaining images, it's just not worth it to fly at all. This is one of those things that I'm just going to probably not touch again after this video. Obviously though, I'm gonna upload the file to my Discord anyways in case you guys want to fly it, because I know you will. And here we were gonna go and shoot down a target drone, but it was actually faster than us, so never mind. Meet you back in the live Messier voiceover. Hey guys, so actually, just kidding. I'm not actually going to be going in for him because he's faster than me, so, JK, I guess. In the meantime, I'll just talk about some other features I might not have covered in the video. So, as you see, we do have headlights and taillights, but we also have working brake lights. We've got, if you use the left arrow key, you get a working blinker with, side indicators and all that. And, right, you'll get a working right blinker, and then both at once, and you get hazards. This is a completely useless feature, I'm sure absolutely no one is going to use, but, still. And then, oh yeah, you can also open the door and completely block all the air going into one engine, by doing this. Good luck getting out of this thing, like, bailing out and not dying, by the way. I feel like you're gonna have a tough time doing that. Well, I don't really think there's anything left to do with this thing. There's nothing I really can do. I mean, I can fly a little bit longer. I can destroy another house. That would be pretty awesome. And then I can land it. Yeah, why don't we land it? There we go. Screw that house. It's really funny that we almost did pull out of that as well. What a disastrous vehicle. Alright, let's go in for a base here. Also, don't ever turn the throttle all the way down like that in this thing. It falls out of the sky so easily. Like, look, I'm already at stall speed. This thing has a lift to drag of, like... You know what? No, it doesn't have a lift to drag. It just generates drag, no lift. So... be very careful when throttling down that you don't actually just sink out of the sky like this. Coming for the lowest approach known to man. And we're on the ground. Now at this point, feel free to shut off your piston engines, or your turbine engines, and just use the piston engine. Well, that's about all I got for this thing, so thank you. Oh, it also does wheelies really easy on its own. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. I'm thinking of doing a less stupid idea next time, hopefully. So if you're interested in, like, actual airplanes and not this, then feel free to tune in for that. Please... You know what? No, I hope you forget to like and subscribe. I don't want a call to action. Be lazy.
Watch this video and think that's cool, and then never watch my channel again. That's my personal challenge to you. See you all later.